22/06/2022 Chapter 4, Exception Handling Writing Robust Java Codes Object-Oriented Programming 1 Introduction to cases exist when you design and code a method: the case where nothing unusual happens and the case where exceptional things happen. In Java, there is a way to deal with cases where exceptional things can happen. The way is known as exception handling. It deals with methods that have some special case that is handled differently depending on how the method is used. Example, a method that handles division by 0. Object-oriented programming 2 exception types. Object-oriented programming 4 exception types. Exceptions can be of 2 types: checked exceptions. The compiler checks that your methods throw only the exceptions they have declared themselves to throw. Unchecked exceptions, conditions that reflect errors in your program's logic and cannot be reasonably recovered from at runtime. Object-oriented programming 3.1. 22/06/2022 Checked exceptions represent conditions that they are reasonably be expected to occur. If they do occur, must be dealt with in some way. Checking them ensures that the caller of a method deals with the exception in some way, or at least consciously chooses to ignore it. We have to explicitly specify these exceptions during method definition. Object-oriented programming 5 Unchecked exceptions reflect errors in your program's logic. Cannot be reasonably recovered from at runtime. These are errors that should be corrected in the program code. They are also called runtime exceptions. E.g. array index out of bounds exception, thrown when you access outside the bounds of an array. Object-oriented programming 6 Object-oriented programming 7 How to handle exceptions in Java. Exception handling proceeds as follows: either some library software or your code provides a mechanism that signals when something unusual happens. This is called throwing an exception. At another place in your program you place the code that deals with the exceptional case. This is called handling the exception. This method of programming makes for cleaner code. Object-oriented programming 8.2. 22/06/2022 Try throw catch mechanism. The basic way of handling exceptions in Java consists of the three throw catch concepts. The general setup consists of a try block followed by one or more catch blocks. A try block has the syntax try some underscore code. This try block contains the code for the basic program that tells what to do when everything goes smoothly. 9 Object-oriented programming try block. It tries to execute the case where all goes smoothly. If something exceptional does happen, you want to throw an exception. Indicates that something unusual happened. The basic outline, when we add a throw, is as follows: try code underscore that underscore may underscore throw underscore an underscore exception. 10 Object-oriented programming 11 Nested try Object-oriented programming 12.3. 22/06/2022 Object-oriented programming 13 Throw. Example, try if denominator equals 0, throw new exception, division by 0. The value thrown is an argument to the throw operator and is always an object of some exception class. The execution of a throw statement is called throwing an exception. Object-oriented programming 14 Catch block. A catch block begins execution when an exception is thrown in the try block. The catch block has a parameter. Exception object thrown is plugged in for this catch block parameter. Executing of the catch block is called catching the exception or handling the exception. When an exception is thrown, it should ultimately be handled by, caught by, some catch block. Catch block immediately follows the try block. Object-oriented programming 15 Catch block. Syntax of catch block looks like as follows: catch, exception class name e, / code to be executed in the catch block. Example, catch, exception e, system.out.println, you are doing wrong. 16 Object-oriented programming 4. 22/06/2022 Declaring exceptions in a throws clause. If a method does not catch an exception, it must at least warn that any invocation of the method might possibly throw an exception. This warning is called a throws clause. Including an exception class in a throws clause is called declaring the exception. For example, a method that might possibly throw a division by zero exception and that does not catch the exception would have a heading similar to the following: public void sample method, throws division by zero exception. Object-oriented programming 17. Declaring exceptions. If there is more than one possible exception that can be thrown in the method definition, then the exception types are separated by commas. Public void sample method, throws division by zero exception. Some other exception. This technique is a form of shifting responsibility, passing the buck. If you define a method that might have a problem, then normally either your method definition must include a try-catch block that will catch the exception, or you must declare the throws exception within a throws clause. Object-oriented programming 18. Catch or declare rule. Most ordinary exceptions that might be thrown when a method is invoked must be accounted for in one of two ways. The possible exception can be caught in a catch block within the method definition. The possible exception can be declared at the start of the method definition by placing the exception class name in a throws clause. This is known as the catch or declare rule. In any one method, you can mix the two, catching some exceptions and declaring others in a throws clause. Object-oriented programming 19. The finally block. The finally block contains code to be executed whether or not an exception is thrown in a try block. The finally block, if used, is placed after a try block and its following catch blocks. The general syntax is as follows: try, catch, exception class 1e, catch, exception class last e, finally lt. Code to be executed whether or not an exception is thrown or caught. GT 20. Object-oriented programming 5. 22/06/2022 finally block. There are three possibilities when the code in the try-catch finally blocks is run. 1. The try block runs to the end and no exception is thrown. In this case, the finally block is executed after the try block. 2. An exception is thrown in the try block and is caught in one of the catch blocks positioned after the try block. In this case, the finally block is executed after the catch block is executed. 3. An exception is thrown in the try block and there is no matching catch block in the method to catch the exception. In this case, the method invocation ends and the exception object is thrown to the enclosing method. However, the finally block is executed before the method ends. Object-oriented programming 21. Example packages name should be added. Public class example 1. Public static void main, string args, int number 1, number 2, try number 1 equals 10, number 2 equals 0 / number 1, system.out.println, number 2, system.out.println, hey, I'm at the end of try block, catch, arithmetic exception e, system.out.println, you should not divide a number by 0, finally system.out.println, this is the final statement to be executed. Object-oriented programming 22. Example with throw clause. Public class throw example public static void main, string args, int age equals 22, if, age lt 18, throw new arithmetic exception, access denied, you must be at least 18 years old, else system.out.println, access granted, you are old enough. 23. Object-oriented programming 24/6. 22/06/2022 User-defined exception handling methods. Object-oriented programming 25. The difference b/n throw and throws. Object-oriented programming 26. Object-oriented programming 28. Object-oriented programming 27/7. 22/06/2022 Object-oriented programming 30. The end. Object-oriented programming 32. Object-oriented programming 29. Error and exception. Object-oriented programming 31/8.